The smell of cat litter burned my nostrils as I stood in the doorway of what my mother-in-law, Regina Montgomery, called the auxiliary pet quarter. What it actually was, a converted storage room where she kept 12 litter boxes for her precious show cats, and where my twins, Emma and Ethan, were currently trying to lay out their sleeping bags. The guest rooms are being renovated, Regina had announced when we arrived for what was supposed to be a weekend stay during our house's fumigation. Her lips curved into what passed for a smile. This is the only space available, unless you prefer a hotel? She knew very well we couldn't afford a hotel, or rather, she thought we couldn't. My late husband Michael's struggling teacher wife wasn't supposed to have the means for anything beyond basic necessities. Mama, Emma whispered, her voice trembling, it smells really bad. Regina's voice cut through the air like a steel blade. Well, dear, perhaps if your mother had married more appropriately, you wouldn't have to smell it. But here we are. 7 years of these digs about my profession, my background, my existence. 7 years of watching her treat my children like unwanted strays at her precious animal shelter. The cats are better bred than they are, I'd once overheard her telling a shelter donor. At least my Persian has a pedigree. Ethan tugged at my sleeve. Can't we go home? The fumigation won't be done until Monday, sweetheart. I helped him spread out his sleeping bag, trying to find a spot away from the litter boxes. Just 2 nights. 2 nights too many, Regina muttered, adjusting her designer suit. Do try not to disturb the cats. They're not used to children. The way she said children made it sound like a communicable disease. They'll be fine, I said firmly. They know how to behave around animals. Do they? Public school children tend to be rather rough. I bit back my response. Soon, very soon, she would learn exactly what this public school teacher had been up to while she was busy breeding cats and condescension. We have to go, Regina, I reminded her. The shelter's donor gala starts in 2 hours. Her annual donor gala, the crown jewel of her social calendar. The night when all of upper society gathered to throw money at her prestigious animal shelter while she basked in their adoration. This year marked her 20th anniversary as executive director. Yes, she wagged dismissively. Though I don't know why you're attending. The ticket price alone. Michael would have wanted us there, I said quietly. That shut her up, as it always did. Her precious son, the surgeon who disappointed her by marrying a teacher, then devastated her by dying and leaving us his life insurance instead of her. What she didn't know was that Michael had left us much more than that. Very well, she sniffed. But do something about their clothes. I can't have them looking like what we were. Common, ordinary, beneath her. After she clicked away in her Louboutins, I helped the twins change into their gala outfits, designer pieces that would make Regina choke if she knew we owned them. Remember what Daddy used to say? I asked as I straightened Emma's bow. They nodded in unison. Money doesn't make you better, it just makes you louder. That's right, and tonight we're going to be very loud indeed. The twins exchanged knowing looks. They'd seen the papers I'd signed last month, had watched me in late-night meetings with the shelter's board of directors. They might be 7, but they weren't stupid. Will Grandma be mad? Ethan asked, fidgeting with his tie. Grandma will be surprised, I assured him. But sometimes people need surprises to learn important lessons. At the shelter's grand hall 2 hours later, Regina was in her element. She floated between donor groups, accepting compliments about her dedication to animals, her impeccable taste in shelter decor, her 20 years of selfless service. If only they knew how selective that service was. Sarah, darling, she air-kissed my cheeks when we arrived. I'm shocked you could afford the tickets. And the children? Well, they clean up adequately. The twins stood straight-backed, their matching outfits probably worth more than Regina thought I made in a month. She didn't recognize the brands. She'd never expect us to own them. We wouldn't miss it, I smiled. Especially not tonight's announcements. Her perfectly threaded eyebrows drew together. Announcements? The only announcement is my 20-year commemoration speech. Oh, the board didn't tell you about the ownership changes. For a fraction of a second, panic flashed across her Botoxed features. What ownership changes? I'm sure it will all be clear during your speech, I said smoothly. The twins and I have front row seats. Front row? Those are for major donors only. Yes, I agreed. They are. Leaving her sputtering, I guided Emma and Ethan to our table. directly in front of the podium where Regina would soon deliver her speech. The speech she'd spent months preparing, detailing her legacy at the shelter. A legacy that was about to change dramatically. Mrs. Harrison, Thomas, the board secretary, approached with a folder. Everything's prepared for the announcement. Regina, across the room, watched this exchange with growing confusion. She'd never seen Thomas bring me documents before. Never seen me sign anything official. Never imagined I could. Perfect. I took the folder and the security footage. Queued up and ready. The twins squeezed my hands under the table. They knew what was coming. We discussed it as a family, just as Michael and I had planned it for years before his death. Will we still have to sleep with the litter boxes? Emma whispered. No, sweetheart, I promised. After tonight, we won't have to deal with any kind of litter at all. Regina stepped up to the podium, ready to begin her carefully crafted speech about her dedication to animals. She had no idea she was about to learn that treating children like animals came with consequences. Sometimes the best revenge isn't showing people how powerful you are. It's letting them show everyone who they really are first. Regina tapped the microphone, her diamond rings catching the light as she prepared to address the crowd of elite donors. Behind her, a massive screen was ready to display her carefully curated slideshow of 20 years of achievements. Distinguished guests, she began, her voice dripping with practiced warmth. Welcome to our annual donor gala, as we celebrate 2 decades of my leadership at Silver Paws Shelter. Right on cue, the screen behind her flickered. Instead of her planned slideshow, security footage began playing silently. There she was forcing her grandchildren into the litter box room, her cruel words captioned for all to see. Regina, focused on her note cards, didn't notice at first, but the gasps from the audience made her turn around. What is this? She demanded. Turn it off immediately. Please continue, Regina. I stood up. Tell us more about your dedication to preventing cruelty. The footage changed to other incidents. Regina turning away families who wanted to adopt because they weren't socially suitable, refusing to let children volunteer because they were too common, making my twins eat their meals in the shelter's break room because they weren't refined enough for her office. This is, she sputtered. Child cruelty, I suggested. Social discrimination, or just another day at Silver Paws under your leadership. The room erupted in whispers. Several major donors stood up, their faces dark with anger. I demand to know who authorized this, Regina's voice cracked. That would be me. I walked to the podium, the new owner of Silver Paws Shelter. The silence that followed was deafening. Regina's face went through several interesting shades of pale. Impossible, she breathed. You're nothing. A teacher Michael married against my wishes. A teacher who helped her husband invest very wisely, I corrected. While you were breeding cats, Regina, Michael and I were breeding something far more valuable. A plan to make this shelter truly serve all animals and all people. Michael would never. Michael did. Every investment, every board appointment, every detail was planned before his death. He just hoped you'd learn compassion on your own first. The twins joined me at the podium, standing tall despite the room's attention. Emma spoke first, her voice clear and strong. Daddy said helping animals means helping everyone who loves them, not just rich people. Ethan added, and he said treating kids like animals doesn't make you an animal lover. It makes you a bully. Regina staggered back as if their words were physical blows. The footage behind her showed her latest cruelty with the litter box room, playing on an endless loop. As the new owner, I continued, I'm making some immediate changes. First, the executive director position is being eliminated. We'll have a qualified animal welfare professional running operations, not a socialite. Several board members nodded approvingly. Second, our adoption policy will be based on the ability to love and care for animals, not social status or bank accounts. You can't, Regina started. I can, and I am. Your position here is terminated, effective immediately. However, I paused for effect. You're welcome to apply for our new volunteer orientation program. It starts with cleaning the cat kennels. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Some donors actually applauded. Thomas, I called to the board secretary, please escort Mrs. Montgomery to her office to collect her personal belongings. The security team will supervise. Regina stood frozen, her perfectly curated world crumbling around her designer heels. Why, she whispered, why humiliate me like this? The same reason you humiliated my children, to teach a lesson about karma. I met her eyes. The difference is, they didn't deserve their humiliation. You earned yours. One of her society friends tried to come to her defense. This is outrageous. Regina has given 20 years of discrimination and cruelty. I cut in. Would you like to see more footage? Perhaps the time she told a little girl her discount store clothes would upset the cats. The woman sat down quickly. Thomas appeared with a box for Regina's belongings. Your office keys, Mrs. Montgomery. Her hands shook as she removed them from her Gucci purse. And if I refuse to leave quietly, then the full security footage goes to every news outlet in the city, I smiled. I'm sure they'd love to hear about your innovative approach to grandparenting. She sank into a chair, 2 decades of iron control finally shattering. Michael knew, all this time, he knew what I was becoming. He knew, I confirmed. He just hoped he'd remember that animals show more humanity than humans sometimes, especially humans who think they're above others. Emma tugged at my sleeve. Can we go home now, Mama? It smells better there than in the litter box room. Yes, sweetheart, we're going home. I turned to the assembled donors. Thank you all for coming. The shelter's new mission statement and adoption policies will be distributed shortly. We hope you'll continue supporting our work, our real work, helping animals find loving homes in all kinds of families. Behind us, Regina began gathering her belongings, her perfect world reduced to a cardboard box of cat figurines and framed awards that suddenly meant nothing. Sometimes the best lessons about humanity come from those we treat as less than human. As we left, Ethan looked back at his grandmother. Would she be okay, Mama? That depends on what she learns from this. I answered honestly. Sometimes people need to lose everything to understand what really matters. The transformation of both Silver Paws and Regina Montgomery over the next 6 months surprised everyone, though not in the way anyone expected. At first, Regina retreated to her mansion, emerging only to attend charity events where she played the role of the wronged philanthropist. But when her social circle began distancing themselves, no one wanted to be associated with someone who made children sleep with litter boxes. She found herself truly alone for the first time in her life. The turning point came unexpectedly through her beloved Persian cat, Duchess. Duchess is sick, she called one night, her voice lacking its usual imperial tone. The private vet is away and I don't know where else to go. I could have turned her away. Part of me wanted to. Instead, I said, bring her to Silver Paws. We have an emergency clinic now. The Regina who arrived at midnight was a far cry from the polished socialite who'd once ruled these halls. Her hair was uncombed, her clothes wrinkled, and her eyes red from crying. Our new head vet, Dr. Chin, didn't care about Regina's designer purse or social status. She cared about Duchess, who needed emergency surgery. We can save her, Dr. Chin said, but she'll need round-the-clock care for several weeks. I'll pay anything, Regina started, reaching for her wallet. Actually, I interrupted, we have a new program. People who can't afford treatment can volunteer in exchange for care. Volunteer? She looked around the shelter she'd once ruled, now transformed into a warm, welcoming space where families of all backgrounds came to adopt. You mean, work here? Clean cages. Feed animals. Whatever's needed. I held her gaze. Your choice. Something cracked in her perfectly maintained facade. I'll do it, for Duchess. What followed was what the staff called the great humbling of Regina Montgomery. The woman who once wouldn't touch a cat carrier without gloves spent weeks cleaning cages, changing litter boxes, and doing everything she'd once considered beneath her. Your grandmother actually smiled today, one of our volunteers told the twins. A real smile, not that scary fake one she used to have. Emma and Ethan, showing more grace than their grandmother ever had, started visiting the shelter after school. They'd sit with the cats, helping socialize the shy ones, while Regina worked nearby. One day, I overheard Emma ask her, "Why did you hate us so much, Grandma?" Regina stopped cleaning, her hands trembling on the cage door. I didn't hate you, sweetheart. I hated myself. I hated that your father chose a different life than what I'd planned. I hated that he was happy without all the things I thought were important. Like fancy cats? Ethan asked. Like everything fancy. She smiled sadly. I forgot what really matters. And now? Emma pressed. Now I'm learning. From the cats, actually. She gestured around the shelter. They don't care what you wear or where you live. They just care how you treat them. The real breakthrough came during our spring adoption fair. A family in worn clothes but with huge hearts came looking for a cat. The old Regina would have turned them away. The new Regina spent an hour helping them find the perfect match. "They'll give that cat more love than any social committee ever could," she said afterward, watching the family leave with their new pet. Later that evening, as we were closing up, Regina lingered behind. "I've been thinking," she said quietly, "about my house. It's too big for just me and Duchess." "Oh, yes, I thought maybe I could donate it for a satellite shelter location for families who can't travel downtown." I studied her face, looking for any trace of manipulation. Found none. "That's a generous offer," I said carefully, "but it would mean giving up your social status symbol." "Status symbols don't purr," she replied, stroking Duchess, "and they don't give hugs like my grandchildren." The twins, who'd been pretending not to listen, launched themselves at their grandmother. For the first time ever, she hugged them back without worrying about wrinkles in her clothes. "Does this mean we can come visit the cats at your house?" Ethan asked. "Better," Regina smiled. "It means you can come visit your grandmother, who happens to help cats. If that's all right." She looked at me uncertainly. I nodded, watching 2 decades of barriers crumble. "I think that's more than all right." As we locked up that night, Emma observed, "Daddy would be happy now, wouldn't he?" "Yes," I agreed, watching Regina walk to her car with a cat carrier in one hand and her designer purse holding cat food in the other. Sometimes people need to lose their crown to find their heart. The shelter's lights dimmed behind us, but for once, the future looked brighter than ever.